Why aren't these rich people fleeing the country instead of going to court? Fleeing to an extradition-free country is not exactly a get-out-of-jail-free card. These countries will actually prefer to turn their backs and let the US authorities kidnap you at the airport rather than thumb their nose at the American government. It might work for people the US doesn't care to go after, whose crimes are by scale unremarkable. But it is entirely possible that you show up at the airport of one of these no-extradition countries and they turn you away because they know American agents are going to grab you when you try to go back to your plane. I've wondered this myself. I think the simplest answer is probably the most likely. They are narcissists who can't fathom facing consequences for their actions. They think they are untouchable or they can get themselves out of any situation. Plus, fleeing would make them look even more guilty and they protect their image over everything. Once you're caught, arrested, and arraigned, you're typically court-mandated to surrender your passport. The time to flee was before you got caught. Well, for one thing, the lack of a formal extradition treaty does not mean that extradition is forbidden. There's always the chance that the countries could come to an agreement and you get extradited anyway. China and Russia don't have extradition treaties with the US, but does anyone actually think that means they would be happy to welcome fugitive American pedophiles into their countries? Isn't Russell Simmons in Bali to avoid US prosecutors? Because they did it for so long and have so many famous people in their back pocket, they thought they were above the law. Hell, for a time they all were. This shit has been going on for decades, and with Epstein, he had princes and politicians in his back pocket, so he thought he would be out in no time. I mean, he wasn't wrong, but I don't think that was the out he was looking for. The former King Juan Carlos of Spain did that. He bailed to some Persian Gulf state to avoid prosecution. He wasn't an American, but Roman Polanski fled the US after raping a minor. Frequently the super rich, famous, and powerful are surrounded by yes men who just tell them what they want to hear. As such, they are out of touch with reality and don't understand the gravity of the situation until it's too late. It's really no different than a common thief. They first get away with stealing a candy bar, then something bigger, then bigger, and they become so arrogant they believe that they can get away with stealing anything, then they get caught. Fleeing equals admitting guilt, and they want to get away with it. Because in federal court, pre-trial usually takes their passports. Greed. There are very few countries that will hide you and secure your money, even from the host government. Well, for starters, going somewhere without extradition is not exactly appealing. Most of those countries are not very nice, and it would be a huge step down in quality of living. Next, getting their money out of the US is incredibly difficult, so they probably won't have full access to their wealth once they leave. Additionally, most of their wealth is not liquid, and Harvey Weinstein was actually never that rich. He constantly had money problems as he spent basically every penny he earned. A lot of times fleeing the country means you would be leaving the network of family and friends that rely on you without any support. See the previous point, once you have fled the county, the government will freeze your assets. Lastly, and probably most important, they think they will be able to get away with it in court. And let's be honest, for every Diddy or Harvey Weinstein there are 10 rich guys who were able to get acquitted because of how incompetent most government prosecutors are. And as long as you can pay a lot for good lawyers, the system is designed to massively benefit defendants. The Alec Baldwin case is a good counterexample to the Diddy and Weinstein examples. Not sure about these specific people, but a lot of times, a person's passport is confiscated or surrendered to prevent them from fleeing. Moving your money and your assets is going to be a problem if you didn't plan this years in advance. Then, depending on your crime, the country you move to might decide to extradite you anyway, or the corrupt banana republic you fled to might just rob you. By fleeing, they are admitting guilty to their crimes. Fighting it, being rich will get them off. Ike, would you want to live in North Korea? Countries would rather turn on a music producer from the US than ruin any potential relationship with the country, even if they don't have an extradition. Diddy ain't shit in the grand schemes of things. For 100 millionaires and billionaires, they don't have very many liquid assets. Most of their wealth is unrealized, so it can accumulate. Taken a step further, they may take out loans while using property or stock as collateral to do their weekly spending and then pay the loan down when their collateral appreciates in value. If they skip town, it will be harder to maintain that lifestyle with any outstanding loans out there. If they sell all their assets to pay the loans off and get cash, they may raise more suspicion from the feds and lose a bit of the value of their property. Finally, they think they are marketing geniuses who can get celebrities and media to spin a story for them. And they think they pay their lawyers enough to make everything go away. That's right up until they are notified of a civil suit or an ongoing investigation. Failure to prepare. When you have their assets, it takes a lot of planning to get things in order to flee the country. Otherwise, everything they fail to liquidate or transfer will be seized by authorities. Remember, they need enough to live the rest of their lives and also constantly bribe authorities in their new country. It's virtually impossible to move millions of dollars unnoticed in a short amount of time. It would take many years of long-term planning. Career criminals take these measures while arrogant celebrities typically do not. Polanski did it.